Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and I'm here to do my ANTUTU throttling test between the Xiaomi Mi 11 Global versus the China version, and we have the Oppo Reno5 Pro with the Dimensity 1000 Plus in this test. And now this video is pretty much going to answer the question, does the global version of the Mi 11 suffer from the same overheating issues as the China version? And in the case of the Oppo Reno5 Pro, how does the Dimensity 1000 Plus handle next to these Snapdragon 888 phones? Let's not waste any time and get started. Alright guys, so switching to full HD recording, and you know the drill, we're going to do 4 ANTUTU tests in a row on these phones, and as you see we have the CPU monitor on all these phones, which will be measuring the CPU temperatures. I will also be measuring the ambient temperatures with my trusty thermometer. Now disregard these scores, we're going to get the baseline score after test number 1. It's 22.3 degrees in this room, and all the phones are starting at 100%. The Mi 11 Global is at 99%. I will take that into account. So here we go in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Test again, test again, test again. Very curious to see the results of this test. Test number 1, here we go. Alright guys, test number 1 is in the books, and look at this. For the first time ever, my Xiaomi Mi 11 China version, which has received a number of updates, has now surpassed the 700,000 mark. 685 on the global version, 513 on the Oppo Reno5 Pro 5G. But now let's look at the CPU monitor and see how did these phones do in test number 1. 43 degrees, 43 I saw there, and 42. So they're all in a similar range here. And now measuring the ambient temps of these phones. 39.6, 39.8, 37.9. So pretty good results from these phones. And these are the baseline scores for these phones. And now we go to test number 2. Here we go. Alright guys, test number 2 in the books, and here we start to see a little bit more of the throttling. 659 on the global version, 681 on the China ROM version. It has dipped around 20,000 points, and the Oppo Reno5 Pro has also dipped. But you know what, these aren't major dips, so let's go ahead and check now the CPU monitor on these phones. 48 degrees, 47, 47, and 46. So you know what, they're definitely getting hot. But after test 2, we have not hit 50 degrees on the Mi 11 China or the Mi 11 Global. And you may notice one thing, the China ROM, after receiving a number of updates, the screen is not dimmed. And in the last test, the screen had dimmed after test 2. So very interesting here. Let's measure the ambient temps of these phones. 42.9 on the global version. 43.2 on the Mi 11 China. And 40.3 on the Dimensity 1000 Plus Oppo Reno5 Pro. So let's go right into it. Test number 3 on these phones. Test again and test again. Here we go. Okay, test number 3 completed, and look at these major dips now. The Dimensity 1000 Plus, 669 though on the China variant, and this is good news, guys. Meanwhile, my global Mi 11 has not only dimmed the display, it's down to 625,000. Checking the CPU monitors of these phones. 55 degrees, did you see it there? 49 degrees on the global version and 45 on the Dimensity 1000 Plus Oppo Reno5 Pro. So we're hitting higher numbers here, and now we see the China version has dimmed the display. So I think it's safe to say, guys, that these phones are still getting very hot, but they're not getting to the really hot levels that they were previously. And whether it's software updates on the China version or just the fact that the global version is now throttling performance quite a bit more to lower the temperature, I think that's what we're seeing right here. And measuring the ambient temps of these phones, 43 degrees, 44 degrees on the China variant, 40 degrees on the Oppo Reno5 Pro. And here we go with the last test, test number 4. Let's see if these phones get any hotter than they have already, and if they throttle even more. Test number 4, let's do it. Okay guys, test number 4 completed on these phones, and what do you notice? both the Mi 11 Global and China variants have dimmed their displays, but we also see the results: 609,000 versus 630 versus 414. But now let's check the CPU monitor of these phones. 55 degrees, did you see it? 53 and 46. So this pretty much, I think, proves my findings. The Reno 5 Pro has stayed cooler during this test, but it also means it has throttled performance in ANTUTU quite a bit. Meanwhile, the global and the China ROM versions have both had kind of similar results here at the end, so maybe these software updates have made a difference with this phone. And measuring the ambient temperatures, here we go. 42.5, 44.2, and 40.2. So the Mi 11 China version has gotten the hottest, at least in terms of ambient temperatures, but these results give us a lot to think about, so let's go ahead now to the final verdict of this test. Alright, and stopping the test there, and let's talk about this, guys. So both of these phones have dimmed their displays, but if you want to talk about which phone throttled the most, then the loser here is definitely the Oppo Reno Pro 5G. It has dipped 100,000 points in this test, and yet at the same time, it is still comfortable to touch. And I guess pick your poison. Do you want to throttle performance or do you want to overheat, as both of these phones have done? Meanwhile, the Mi 11 Global version is definitely hot. It is super hot to the touch, and it dipped quite a bit as well, almost 80,000 points. And meanwhile, the China variant of the phone, while achieving the highest ANTUTU score I've ever gotten on a Mi 11 at 701,000, has dipped essentially 70,000 points. And it has done so getting very hot, but still maybe a little bit less hot than the previous ANTUTU throttling tests I've done on this phone. Once again, I think we can't really pick a winner in this test, but if you wanted to hand out two victories in this test for the staying cool under pressure, I give the win to the Oppo Reno 5 Pro. It is still the most comfortable to use, and it has not overheated as much as the Mi 11 series has. But if you're talking about which phone throttled the least, and in my opinion, which phone has actually performed better from previous tests, then I do give the win here to the Xiaomi Mi 11 China variant. Now, it's not to say that this phone did not get super hot. It definitely did, and I think other phones like the Galaxy S21 Ultra and the Vivo IQ7 have performed better in this test. But just given the number of software updates this device has received, it did better in this test than the global Mi 11. And in terms of battery, you see the results right here. 82% versus 79 versus 77. So the Reno 5 Pro dipped 18%. The Mi 11 China, 21%. And remember, this started at 99. It's now down to 77, so it dipped 22%, the most of these phones. But in the end, guys, I think the big question that you are all wondering is, Frankie Tech, is MIUI 12.5 gonna solve this problem on the Mi 11 series? And I would say if they approach the situation kind of like how this Oppo Reno 5 Pro did, the temperatures probably won't be as high, but at the same time, I could foresee MIUI 12.5 lowering the scores on these phones even more than this. The reality is, guys, the Snapdragon 888 chipset, it gets hot. There's no getting around it, and whether you're using the global version or the China variant, that's going to be the case. And so I guess we'll have to wait and see 12.5 here on the global version if those software updates will make a difference in these ANTUTU throttling tests. But hit me up in the comments. Which phone do you think did the best of these three? And pick your poison. What would you rather have a phone do? Would you rather have a phone throttle the scores a lot but stay cool, or not throttle as much but overheat once again? Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. And stay tuned, of course, for my full Mi 11 versus Oppo Reno 5 Pro video and my full review on this phone as well. So that's it. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Have a good one. A bit better, Mi 11, but you're still getting hot.